Can you imagine a great white shark the size of a blue whale? That predator existed and dominated the oceans millions of years ago. Let me introduce you to the most ferocious predator in history, the megalodon shark. A monstrous size. How long do you think a megalodon was? Almost all researchers agree that it was at least 52 feet long. That is, the size of 2 school buses in a single file, or of a modern sperm whale. Imagine that sperm whale suddenly grew teeth and began to bite everything in their path. Ugh, how terrifying. If that was the minimum, what was the maximum then? Unfortunately, it's hard to know since the megalodon skeleton, like all sharks, was made up of cartilage instead of bone, and cartilage rarely fossilizes. For this reason, most of the remains that have been found of the megalodon are teeth, and scientists have had to elaborate complicated formulas to determine its size based on them. Some paleontologists take the height of the teeth as a reference, others take the edges of the teeth, and others take the root. But the results are different every time. Overall, most estimates a maximum size are between 59 and 65 feet long. If this is true, we would be talking about a shark the length of a small blue whale. That's even more terrifying. Now, how much did the megalodon weigh? Well, this is also under discussion, because if a megalodon grew 52 feet in length, it had to weigh none other than 48 tons. But if it grew 65 feet in length, it could weigh up to 103 tons. That is, about 45 pickup trucks or 17.6 adult male African elephants. To top it all off, it was carnivorous. A prehistoric monster. The most fearsome shark to ever swim in the oceans, the megalodon, arose 23 million years ago and became extinct 3.6 million years ago, between the periods known as the Miocene and Pliocene. This was long after the dinosaurs vanished from the Earth 66 million years ago, but long before humans first appeared. So, it didn't eat any prehistoric man swimming around, although when it went extinct, some of our hominid ancestors, the Australopithecus, were already walking around in Africa. During the millions of years that it existed, the megalodon witnessed how the temperature varied noticeably, especially between 21 and 14 million years ago when it warmed up considerably and then dropped again, giving way to the Ice Age. But I'll tell you about that in a while. The king of the oceans. As for its habitat, the megalodon lived in almost all of the world's oceans, and its remains have been found in places as far as Denmark and South Africa. The temperature in those places was estimated to be between 33 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, the megalodon probably had a metabolism capable of keeping its body temperature higher than the water around it, expanding its habitat even further. You could have found it almost anywhere in the ocean, either in coastal waters or offshore. Therefore, you had to be especially careful if you were in the sea. What would have happened if you ran into it? I'll tell you right now. The worst bite in the animal kingdom. The megalodon's bite had the force of 182,000 newtons. That is, 10 times stronger than that of a white shark and 5 times stronger than that of a T-Rex. Its pointed teeth, shaped like an inverted V, could be up to 7.2 inches long and were sawed off, improving its ability to cut through meat or bone. The megalodon's mouth was a crusher, with 274 teeth arranged in 5 rows. It could open its mouth up to 6.6 feet wide, so it could easily swallow a human being swimming side stroke. The front teeth were larger while the lateral ones were leaning inwards. The latter clamped onto the prey while the front ones cut it off. Like many modern-day sharks, the megalodon had a movable jaw that moved forward when biting and retracted and ripped off large pieces of its victims' bodies. A starving shark. The megalodon needed to eat between 1,300 and 2,600 pounds of meat a day. Its tremendous size made it an apex predator that could eat anything. Whales were its favorite, but it also ate dolphins, turtles, seals, fish, and even other smaller megalodons. Yeah, it was cannibalistic too. Its way of hunting was similar to that of the white shark. It bit its victims from the bottom up. But while the white shark specialized in biting into soft tissue, the megalodon had no problem attacking its victims' rib cages, using its teeth to crack bone and damage the heart and lungs. Fascinating fossils of whale vertebra with megalodon bite marks have reached us. When it came to hunting especially large whales, the megalodon immobilized them by biting the fins and devoured them afterwards. Baby shark. Female megalodons gave birth to live baby sharks. There are still mixed opinions about whether they were viviparous, meaning the pups got food through the umbilical cord and from the placenta like humans, or oviviparous, meaning they were formed in eggs inside mom and were fed by the yolks until the little shark was born, leaving the egg inside. According to estimates, baby megalodons were born between 6.5 and 11 feet long. It's thought that the pups were that large due to intrauterine cannibalism, meaning the fetuses ate each other inside the mother's uterus, supporting the gigantism of both the embryos and the mother. Therefore, the males increased their size to reproduce calmly. Baby megalodons used to spend their early years in shallow coastal waters hunting small prey like fish and away from large predators. Breeding areas have been detected in Panama, Florida, Maryland, and the Canary Islands. Once grown, the pup moved to the open sea to hunt larger prey. It's thought that the megalodon reached sexual maturity rather late since it stopped growing at 25 years old. The end of the megalodon. The megalodon fell victim to global cooling, which would trigger the Ice Age later on. The megalodon preferred warm waters, so the temperature drop in the seas restricted its habitat more and more, and also forced the megalodon to consume more calories to keep its body heat. The poles freezing rose the sea level and the formation of the Isthmus of Panama, which closed the natural passage between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, further reducing the temperature. As the bioceanic corridor was also a migration route for whales, the main food of the megalodon was reduced. At the time, there were 20 species of whales. Today, there are only 6, and many of those that remained moved to the poles, away from the jaws of the megalodon. This led it to eat smaller prey that was also faster and more elusive, or to eat the youngest megalodon, which ended up affecting the reproduction of the species. But the tragedy didn't end there. Falling sea levels reduced the shallow waters that served as a nursery for baby megalodons, leaving them at the mercy of predators. In the midst of all this debacle, the megalodon had to face competition from white sharks, which had no problem eating smaller prey. Big vertebrae. Millions of years after the megalodon went extinct, other remains were found in addition to its teeth. For instance, the vertebral centers. Scientists have estimated that the megalodon's spine was made up of about 200 vertebrae. In 1926, 155 vertebrae belonging to a single individual were found in Belgium, and in 1983, another 20 vertebrae were found in Denmark. The largest of all measured 9 inches in diameter. These fossils have rings that work just like those in tree trunks, since they can tell us how old the megalodon is and its growth rate. Counting these rings resulted in ages between 25 and 40 years, so the megalodon is thought to have lived longer than that. The secret of the excrement. The other great recent finds about the megalodon have been the coprolites, that is, remains of its excrement. Coprolites 5.5 inches in length have been found in South Carolina. Its shape indicates that this shark must have had a spiral valve at the end of its digestive system. A spiral valve is a special organ that some fish also have and consists of a cavity that fulfills the functions of the small intestine. Inside this valve are numerous internal folds similar to a spiral staircase that increase the absorption surface and lead to not needing so many intestines. Who would have thought that you could get information even from excrement? Paleontological discussions. If you search for information about the megalodon, you'll find that some call it the Carcharodon megalodon, others call it Carcharocles megalodon, and recently, Ototus megalodon. All these theories have to do with the animals this great shark is related to. Those who say it's Carcharodon megalodon highlight the great resemblance between the teeth of the megalodon and those of the white shark, whose scientific name is Carcharodon carcharius, so they think they must be close relatives. They claim that both shark species have a common ancestor, Paleocarcharodon orientalis. Other scientists say no, it's actually Carcharocles megalodon, which is a lineage of sharks that would come from the oldest Carcharocles auriculatus, followed by the Carcharocles angustidens, the Carcharocles tubentis, and finally the Carcharocles megalodon. They say all of their teeth had tiny points on either side, which got smaller and smaller. And with the megalodon, they had all but disappeared, indicating that it was more ready to cut than tear, making it more deadly than its ancestors and more prepared to kill whales. Finally, those who agree with the Ototus megalodon theory support this family tree. They just say the ancestor of the oldest shark, the Carcharicles auriculatus, was a shark called Ototus obliquus, so they prefer to put the Ototus surname to all its descendants, including the megalodon. Lots of trouble, right? Alright, this was the largest shark in the world. If you like prehistoric content, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. See you in the next video.